And then. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the Madison Public Schools Board of Education meeting to order. We go rise and say pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we always start with our school/community session and public participation, and Emily gives us a little recitation of the rules.
Yep. So it's good to see so many people in person. We do welcome public comment at our meetings. We do limit them to 3 minutes to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to speak. When speaking, we ask that you state your name and your address. If you are joining us in person, you can just raise your hand. If you're joining us online, you can also raise your hand online and be called upon. Meetings like tonight's are not an opportunity for discussion, so there shouldn't be expected that they will be a back and forth. Is there anyone in person who would like to speak at this time? Is there anyone online? So who would like to say? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we move on to the Board of Education Student Representatives Report with Eli Ackerman and Brooke Anderson. Right, thank you. Welcome.
Tomorrow on the bridge, we have voter registration for students that are 18 and are going to be 18 by the time the upcoming elections are coming up. And we just wanted to give a shout out to our teachers, because it's Teacher Appreciation Week, and a shout out to our nurse, because tomorrow is Nurses Appreciation Week. So thank you to them and all the great things that they do for our school. And at the end of this week, the seniors will get all of the dates and times for this end of the year activities like senior prom and graduation, all the assemblies that we have. So it's really exciting.
Along with it being Teacher Appreciation Week, it is also the dreaded AP testing week this weekend next. So this is for mostly juniors and seniors, but the teachers have been super accommodating and supportive, like keeping our mental health in mind. So we've kind of like had less tests, other types of tests going on. So I think it's been going pretty great. I mean, as great as it can be. And the day to clear off your calendar, if you didn't know already, is Wednesday, May 15th. It's a pretty packed day. During the actual school day, the juniors will have a pre-prom assembly. This will talk about like good decision making and everything to make sure that prom remains fun and lighthearted, as little hiccups as possible. And this prom will be taking place on May 17th, and it'll be at Woodlands. And during the evening of May 15th, there'll be the DHHS art show from 6 to 7:30 with a award ceremony on the bridge around that 7:30 mark. And this differs from the last art show, which was the K-12 art show, because this is just only high school students' work and none of the other grades. And afterwards, right after at 7:30 is the band concert. So we're going from visual art to performing arts. So it'll be a very packed day for everyone.
Questions for our student representatives? I have one quick question. You mentioned the AP tests. I know that we've been piloting a program to do some AP tests and prep in certain of the courses. Have either of you known anybody who's taken the prep and they find it helpful? Is that a good offering?
Prep meaning like teachers offering time after school. Yeah, I did it last year because I had a bunch of tests last year. It definitely worked. I know the test prep sessions that I would go to, I did better on those tests. And the teachers know what's going to be on the test better than anything else. So, you know, you can look at YouTube and it'll help, but the teachers, they do a really good job. And I think what helped most in those sessions is that they'll have you ask questions so you can talk about specifically what you need the most help with. So I found them very helpful. But,
And the other thing is most of them are after school, and like the kids who do after school like music classes, it's pretty tough to always go to them. But I'm pretty like, even though you're not allowed to take the AP material out of the classroom for at least some of my classes, the teachers have been also like incorporating it during the normal class day, which has been also super helpful.
Very helpful to know. Thank you. And unless there are any other questions, I think you should run along and get ready for your AP test.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you both.
Good luck.
Good luck. Okay, next we have the superintendent's report, which includes some special awards. Dr. Cook.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Klaskin, and it's great to see so many people here tonight. Just a quick note, we usually do have air conditioning in this building. We are going through a project, so please bear with us. If you can't hear, just let us know or turn off the remaining fans that are going, but we're just trying to stay a little cool as much as possible. This is always one of my favorite nights of the year. Also, I know the board, because we don't always get so many people here, but we're also recognizing some amazing students, and we get to do so from both Polson and Daniel Hand. So that's always a great event. The CABE Award, which is the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education, is also special for the board to award, because it is from Boards of Education. So just a quick note on that. It's a student leadership award. It includes 7th and 8th grade students, along with high school students who exhibit exemplary leadership skills, including a willingness to take on challenges, concern for others, diplomacy, and ability to honor a commitment. 2 students from each school in a CABE member district are eligible to receive the CABE Student Leadership Award. Students are nominated by their school principal, so it makes it very special. So I will start with Polson and Catherine Hart, and ask Catherine to come forward and recognize our Polson students.
Thank you very much. And at Polson, we actually recognize students in 8th grade who we put out to all the teachers in 8th grade and asked for their input. So out of 185 students, we narrow it down to 2, which honestly is pretty tough to do, but it's a great group of kids. And we run all that information by related arts teachers as well. So everybody gets some input to be able to nominate these 2 award winners for tonight. So to start with that, I'd like to call up Elle Vradenberg. So Elle Vradenberg embodies the essence of academic excellence, leadership, and community, making her a worthy recipient of the prestigious CABE Award. She excels academically, consistently showing a strong commitment to her studies, but the respect she holds from students and staff goes well beyond good grades. It starts with her ready smile. Elle absolutely radiates positivity and enthusiasm. Whether she is entering a classroom, heading into the office, or walking down the hall, she smiles. Whether she knows you personally or not, she smiles, making everyone feel like they are truly seen, like they matter. It's easy to see why she inspires anyone around her. Elle is a born leader, and she leads with grace, humility, and a quiet competence. For example, she is heavily involved in Excel Club and Student Council, where she is equally at home taking charge of a program or supporting the initiatives of others. Need help with a project like hanging kindness posters around the school? Ask Elle. Need an honest perspective about an idea or program? Ask Elle. She is empathetic and possesses a genuine concern for the well-being of others, collaborating with all and advocating for those who need support. It's clear that her contributions in school are not about personal growth. They're about enriching the entire school community. There is no doubt that in anything she undertakes, Elle will continue to make meaningful contributions with a boundless optimism that will inspire others and leave a lasting impression on Madison Public Schools and the world around us. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to receive this award. I just want to say thank you to my family and my friends for always being my biggest supporters, my biggest cheerleaders, and always believing in me with whatever I set my mind to. I love you guys all so much. Thank you. And I want to give a huge thank you, especially for Teacher Appreciation Week, to all of the teachers and mentors that I've had throughout the course of my life for shaping me into the person that I am today. Especially to the teachers. I see all the time, empathy, and dedication that teachers put into their job, which isn't always easy. And I have so much appreciation and respect for them. So thank you so much.
Pictures.
Right. So our next recipient is Matthew Ackman. I'd like to have- So Matthew Ackman is a student of exceptional character, dedication to service, and academic excellence, which has earned him the esteemed CABE Award. In the classroom, Matthew performs at high levels across the board, and teachers are impressed with his strong work ethic. His dedication transcends academics, however, as seen in his leadership roles in the building. With a genuine commitment to service and a natural ability to inspire others, he leaves an indelible mark on Polson in all he does. For example, as part of Student Council, he participated in Our World Day, a joint effort between Polson and a neighboring middle school, where students collaborated to develop and present information on countries across the globe. As part of Peer Helpers, Matt demonstrates an inclusive approach and ability to bring people together, which has made him a role model for peers and younger students in the school community. It's no surprise then that he is currently spearheading a new bulletin board project centered on inclusivity and unity. Whether he is meeting with administration, creating plans, or adjusting strategies when faced with challenges, Matt's strong communication skills and his commitment to leaving Polson a better place are evident. Thank you, Matthew, for inspiring us and making a difference in the lives of others around you. We know you'll continue to do so for years to come.
First off, I'd like to thank my family for being here. My biggest inspirations throughout my life, and they will continue to be so. I'd also like to thank faculty of Polson for not only being nominated, but also choosing me to win the award. Very grateful for that. I'm the youngest in my family, youngest of 4. And I see that has some pros and cons. You know, I never got to choose what channel on TV we'd watch, but I got a phone when I was 12. And that's nice. And one of the greatest pros I think I have of being the youngest is seeing what my siblings did, and not only their extracurriculars, but also how they interacted with others. I was able to see how they managed their sports and how they managed their work, all culminating together. And I was able to take notes from what they did and how they were able to lead, and I tried to put my own spin on it as well. And now I'm here. I'd like to thank everybody for that.
Good job.
If we want to do maybe the photos with Matt and then the photos with Elle, and then both families are welcome to go, then it's quite warm in here. So. Come on out. All right, so we'll do this group first and then. We'll do some of those. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. The parents want to take any or we good?
Come on up, Peckermans.
Yeah, the parents are all going to join.
Come on, Eli, come on over.
Not what I want.
You gotta smile, Eli.
Like roll reverse.
Thank you.
Sure you get Eli's room in September? Congratulations.
All right. Ready, 1, 2, 3. All set, thank you very much.
Thank you, Josh, very much.
Okay, and then Elle and family, if you all want to come up.
Sure.
Thank you. Ready, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, sure.
Family.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm just gonna take the picture. Okay, if you want to be in it, I'll share them when it's start. That's it. Okay.
That's true about this.
All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bearing with us.
Next, I'd like to recognize Daniel Hand, Principal, TJ Salvatore. Mr. Salvatore.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. Thanks to Board of Ed for having us. Great night. I love being here for the CABE Award. And just for our 2 high school recipients, there's zero pressure to say anything after it's presented. So if you're wondering what happened, Mr. Salvatore said we don't have to say anything. You don't, but you absolutely could if you want to. That was a new and really good twist. So, again, we're a high school with great students, so just being in a conversation to be nominated for one of these types of recognition is incredible. We have 2 excellent students that I'm really proud to work with and present to you this evening. Sarah, we're gonna go first, so come on up. And you could stand here, probably uncomfortably in the live. A lot of really positive things about you, and then, if you want to say a few words, zero pressure. So Sarah Hagan is a tenacious, compassionate, dedicated, and independent young adult. Her warm and welcoming personality made her a light in any room she enters. Sarah jumped into the high school experience with 2 feet, making an impressive impact on her teachers and the entire DHHS community. Sarah has succeeded in balancing a challenging schedule with ease. She has excelled academically while being deeply involved in athletics at DHHS and volunteering in the community. Sarah loves learning in the areas of science and hopes to apply her passion to the study of chemistry in the future. She is a talented student who has grown exponentially by taking on new challenges and responsibilities. Sarah enjoys making connections with teachers and students and has pushed herself beyond her comfort zone to join clubs and activities. She is an organized, active participant in her classes, always willing to volunteer and lead groups. Academically, Sarah performs at a high level, landing her in the top 10 of her class. She is committed to challenging herself each year by taking our highest level courses. She has been on the high honor roll her entire high school career and has received the seal of biliteracy in Latin in 2023. She has won many awards for her commitment to academic success, including the Tulane University Book Award, which is awarded to a student for community service and leadership. She has earned multiple DHHS departmental and PTO recognition for excellence in art, English, social studies, science, and orchestra. These recognitions demonstrate the intelligence and dedication Sarah has across various curricular areas. Last school year, the faculty nominated Sarah for the APA Laurel Girls State, where she attended a week-long training and immersion in a mock government. In 2023, Sarah received one of the highest honors at DHHS for her induction into the National Honor Society. Sarah has grown and developed through these academic experiences, learning how to manage her time and achieve a balance in both her school and personal life. Her drive to succeed continues as her challenging coursework during her senior year certainly confirms. In addition to her commitment to academics, she is also dedicated to her community and extracurricular involvement. She has engaged in an extensive number of clubs where she has been involved for 3 years and currently holds leadership positions. These include co-vice presidents of the Giving Back Club, president of the debate team, secretary of UNICEF, and captain of our fencing team. She also plays violin in our chamber orchestra, and she has joined the Shoreline Youth Symphony Orchestra, where she has made the regional competition in 2022. Although time does not seem like something Sarah has much of, she volunteers extensively at the Guilford Art Center and the Guilford Library. She has been a tutor at DHHS supporting students with chemistry, Algebra 1, and SAT prep. All of these commitments outside of the classroom are examples of Sarah's caring nature and dedication. Sarah is successful and humble. She is a true leader and a driven young woman. There is no doubt she will continue on a path of success as a motivated, bright, dynamic, and truly special young woman who is very well deserving of this recognition. Congratulations.
Thank you. I don't have much to say, but I would like to thank my family and my teachers and all my classmates and teammates for supporting me in my leadership roles. I really appreciate that.
Center.
Scotty Kramer, you wanna go? All right. 1, 2, 3.
One on each side.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you. I know.
Cooper, you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Come on up. The anticipation of waiting, right? Worse than being up there. So Cooper had a track meet today. The school bus got sideswiped in New Haven. Thankfully, everyone was okay. We didn't know if they'd make it here in time, but you made it. You did. So really cool. We're excited you made it here. I'm very excited. So Cooper Dunsmore is an impressive young man who is thoughtful, compassionate, dedicated, and independent. He has balanced an incredibly challenging schedule with ease and has excelled in academics while being deeply involved in clubs and volunteering. Some would refer to Cooper as a Lego kid. And to this day, he still loves to build, especially things that move like cars, boats, planes, and trains. He loves learning in all academic areas and beyond high school, is planning to apply his skills to engineering, possibly aerospace. Cooper is a mature and engaged learner who finds ways to participate and connect to the class and the curriculum. He participates to his full capability, including helping others. He works collaboratively to share his knowledge and is willing to lead groups and discussions. Academically, Cooper performs at a very high level, finishing in the top 10 of his class. He has committed to challenging himself by taking more demanding courses each year. He received the Seal of Biliteracy in Spanish last year and has been on the high honor roll his entire high school career. In 2023, he received DHHS Department Awards for Academic Excellence in Math, World Language, and Science. He is an active member of our music department, playing percussion in our symphonic band and leading the marching band as a percussion section leader. Cooper also plays in our jazz band and show band. Last year, Cooper was awarded for his excellence in academics, mathematics, and naturally sciences from Clarkson University and from the Society of Women Engineers. In the spring of 2023, Cooper received one of the highest honors at DHHS through his induction into the National Honor Society. Cooper has grown and developed through these academic experiences, learning how to manage his time and achieve a balance in both his school and personal life. In addition to his dedication to academics, Cooper has made a positive impact through his extracurricular activity involvement and his connections to the community. He is a dedicated member of the indoor and outdoor track team where he competed at the New England and national levels. Outside of DHHS, Cooper continues to spread his musical abilities in the community. He plays house band for our local school of rock, plays for our elementary schools with the jazz band, and participates yearly with our marching band during the Memorial Day Parade. He also has extensive volunteer hours, over 300, with the Share the Wind sailing camp, where he teaches younger children how to sail small sailboats at the surf club. In his free time, in quotes, he works as a marine attendant at Yacht Management Systems to clean and wax boats during the summer months. Cooper's success demonstrates his natural leadership and ability to connect with younger students, peers, and all members of our school community. He is an exceptionally driven young man who is no doubt already on the path to success. His body of work over the past 4 years has been incredible. Cooper is truly a special young adult who is very well deserving of this recognition. Congratulations.
First, I want to thank you and all of you guys and the faculty and staff at Daniel Hand. Couldn't have done like anything, like none of us could do anything without all you guys and all the work you do behind the scenes. And it's just, really incredible what you guys manage to pull off every year and, have a great school community that everyone I know loves to be a part of. And then my parents and family and my sisters aren't here, but they certainly help too, driving me around everywhere and things like that. But yeah, couldn't have done it without you guys as well as the faculty. And Coach Geary isn't here, but shout out to him as well. And yeah, thank you. I'm incredibly grateful.
Really nice letter on the back as well. So we'll take the official picture first, then parent picture. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. You get the center. Right.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. The parents want to join as well.
Yeah. Congratulations. Thank you very much. You get on one side. Come on. Congratulations.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. All set? Good, thank you. You can stay for me.
Yeah. So you got a bunch of things coming up. They're all good. Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
That's fun. Okay, well, that couldn't have been more perfectly set up for Teacher Appreciation Week, and that everyone who spoke, including our student reps, mentioned teachers, faculty, in terms of their support for their success. So as we start off Teacher Appreciation Week, I want to thank Madison's 300 teachers from preschool to Mandarin. You know, our Madison teachers have just amazing skill sets that they bring to their classes and the courses they teach. When we ask families what they like the most about Madison Public Schools, they consistently share stories about the teachers and how they go above and beyond. I'm thrilled to have Mike Ginsberg here with us again this year as MEA president. I know he wants to say a few words. I appreciate Mike not only as an excellent teacher, a master teacher, and what he does with the students, but also the way he supports his members and you know, the way he goes about his professionalism and his work in Madison for 25 years.
More than that, right?
Okay. We're gonna go low rather than go too high. So, Mike, if you come forward.
I'm gonna be very brief because it is warming here. I can't compare it to those kids. They're amazing. So, but I just want to say thank you to everybody. Just know everybody's appreciation is met with a whole bunch of gratitude on all of the teachers. We appreciate all that you guys do and how much you support us every day. Thank you.
Thank you. And on both of these areas, we have throughout the week recognition, I know, from both the schools and then also heavily from the PTO. PTOs do a fantastic job, so I want to just thank them as well for everything they do to help us recognize teachers and our school nurses. So I'm going to lead right into our school nurses. School Nurse Appreciation Day is tomorrow, and we have Stephanie Lesnick with us. We have 6 school nursing positions. We have 7. We have a job share this year that you know, we're thrilled to be able to staff all our nursing positions. It's a shortage countrywide, statewide certainly, but also school nurses is a you know, pretty big shortage in the nurses area. And so you know, the nurses in our schools do care for students from, you know, just daily providing meds to broken bones and accidents that we are thrilled that they are on staff to be able to handle for us. And they support our students both physically and emotionally so often throughout the year. So I'd like to ask Stephanie to come forward and be recognized and say a few words. She's willing to do that.
I actually want to see TJ's offer and not speak, if that's that's still an option. No, I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to acknowledge all the nurses who I'm here representing. You know, a lot of my moms and not able to be out on the evening like this, so they all send their appreciation to for Dr. Cook and their administration of their buildings for the support that they get on a daily basis. You know, I feel fortunate as a mom of students in this town that all of our buildings are staffed with school nurses. I think that's critical as we look at changes in our structure of our school system, really placing a value in the health office and however that structure is laid out really shows your value that you place in the health office and what those nurses are doing, what their health professionals are doing in those offices. So I thank you for your support in that. Dr. Cook has been obviously very supportive of us, but you know, most recently he's excuse me, he's helped us fund some vision screeners, which have been really important for our state mandated screenings that we need to do for vision screenings for our youth. And that just in a nutshell has cut down the amount of time that our nurses are spending doing state screenings for vision specifically. It's really facilitated and expedited that process, which allows our nurses to be with our kids doing what they need to do on a daily basis. So small things like that, you know, it matters. It really lets our nurses know that they're seen and that their job is valued and the presence is valued. So I thank you. I'm appreciative to the nurses that I work with and the health office paraprofessionals. Mrs. Drake is my right hand and my left most of the time. So you know, it's all very very well structured. So thank you, and I appreciate you taking the time to thank us. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie and Mike, and you also get the invite to lead if you like. You certainly- Thank you, man, for that. And so next we have a brief presentation on two very important topics and changes that will occur for next year. Mr. Salisbury is going to come forward, and two of the most important things we do is school attendance, and that we pay very close attention to this from preschool on up. But certainly being in school is one of the most important things for our students to be able to learn, and so we want to encourage and also adjust to state laws that have happened. And I think we're trying to be a little proactive here. Madison has, as the board knows from our accountability report, always had good student attendance. And we do expect that will jump a little bit this next report. I just want to give you that heads up, not in a great way, rather in a way that we weren't hoping it would, but as we track student attendance throughout the year, we are seeing some higher absenteeism. And we're going to touch on some of the reasons for that and ways that we can work with other students to have that improve. And then also academic integrity, which is something, again, we're trying to respond to, kind of some new things out there. The board's done a lot of work on AI and part of this is in response to that, but I think also part of it is just looking at best practices and ways we can do things a little bit better. So I thank TJ for his work in this area. He really has led this. He's worked with legal counsel. He's checked with other districts. He's worked a lot with central office staff. So I appreciate that. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Selter.
Great, Dr. Kirk. Thanks for the time, and I'll be brief, but feel free to jump in with questions. Happily answer them. Spent a lot of time, including with the conversations with faculty, the work with our changes to academic integrity. We spent some time with the senior class officers, just because they would be the most honest with us, because this won't pertain to them, and they really have some great feedback. So we're gonna jump right in and take a look at school attendance. So I wanted to give just a very brief overview. I'm not sure everyone's totally aware, so if you are, I apologize. But all students in public school are allowed 9 excused absences every single year, as long as a parent or guardian informs the school within 10 days of those 9 absences. After the 10th absence and beyond, those are typically unexcused absences unless they fit in certain categories which are listed above. The information that is detailed in red, where you can see state allowed mental health wellness days. As I'm sure you recall, the state added 2 mental health days for students ever since the impact of COVID, which makes a lot of sense. And what we're doing with our transition with how we document the mental health days, if students use those mental health days within the first 9 absences, they count towards the first 9 absences. And that would be an excused absence, and they will actually be allowed to come to extracurricular events like participate in sports, for example. That's currently in place. If a student was to use up their initial 9 absences for, let's say they're sick 9 different occasions, and they had 2 additional mental health days, those still count as excused, even though they're beyond the 9. And that's allowable, and that's the approach we're recommended to take. So it depends when the students take them. They still get the 2 mental health days that they currently have, they just can't be consecutive. And if they're in the first 9, they count towards the 9. If they're beyond it, they're 2 additional excused absences. So that is a change to our current practice where we just counted them as additional at this time, but looking at the impact of these, we thought it was time to move them into the initial 9 as, conversations with a lot of the people Dr. Cook mentioned. College visits, this is a significant change we're moving forward with. This is the current language in our handbook that all students are allowed 3 college visits per year, which is excessive. We've been watching this over the years. That's a significant amount of time away from school. It also states we could ask for documentation, which we sometimes do, transitioning to much more detailed approach to college visits for juniors, for juniors and seniors only. They're allowed up to 2 college visits per year. Those 2 college visits would have to be pre-approved. We have a tiny little form that students would fill out in advance, hand into their assistant principal. It would be considered an excused absence within those 1 through 9. And the benefit of that excused absence in advance, if it's a college visit, if a student went to a local college or university and they could get back to school, if they have any extracurricular activities after school, or if it's a Friday visit and they have any activities over the weekend, they can participate in those activities. If a student exceeded their 9 excused absences and they filled out the pre-approval, and maybe a little more specific, if a junior or senior filled out the pre-approval form and it was absence number 10, it would be an unexcused absence because it's beyond, but we wouldn't penalize the student because it's pre-approved with after-school activities or weekend activity involvements, which we think is really fair. This would be a pretty significant change. Now, could a freshman or a sophomore use an unexcused an excused absence for 1 through 9 for a college visit? Yes, of course they can. A parent can make that phone call in. They wouldn't get pre-approval. The significant difference is they would not be able to engage in after-school activities, if that was the scenario. And we see, the college visit process should be dedicated to juniors and seniors in that process. It has been too excessive, and like Dr. Cook mentioned in the beginning, attendance at school is really important. And this will be a significant change moving forward. We plan to do a lot of communication over the summer at the start of the school year as well, so our students are not confused. This next slide is just current practice. I wanted people to see this before we transitioned into a conversation as to how we're going to deal with tardies moving forward. Right now, if a student exceeds their 9 absences, that would be excused. If it's a 1 trimester course and they have 6 unexcused or more, they actually wouldn't earn credit in a course. For a 2 trimester course, again, this is after the 9 absences. So we're talking a pretty significant number. If they had 12 unexcused in a 2 trimester course, they would lose credit, or 18 in a 3 trimester course. Big numbers, again, those are really significant. I thought it was important. This slide is repeated twice. That wasn't a mistake. It's on the beginning of this particular piece, talking about how we address tardies and what we're doing moving forward. And then it wraps up this piece as well. So if you look up at current practice, right now, if a student arrives to their first period class is the greatest impact we're going to see. I don't see many tardy issues during periods 2 through 6. It's that particular first period class. If a student comes in 20 minutes or later, that class is actually considered now as an unexcused absence, even if they end up going to that class. So that's pretty significant. We looked at trying to adjust this to be a little bit more flexible with students, but also holding them accountable. So what we're looking at doing moving forward is breaking it up into 3 categories. It being the amount of time they arrive late to a class. Obviously, our goal is to have the students arrive on time to class. But if they're up to 15 minutes late to class without authorization, that would be counted as a quarter of an unexcused class absence. If it's between 15 and 30 minutes late, that would count as a half of an unexcused class absent. And anything more than 30 minutes now, instead of that 20-minute mark, would count as a full unexcused class absence. Now, those particular absences would pertain to loss of credit. They would not pertain to 0 through 9, like that 0 through 9 that students have for excused absences. It would pertain specifically to this. We see this as helping kids be a little more accountable. Because we truly have some students who after the 20-minute mark, like say, why bother? Like I don't even have to go, that class is going to be unexcused. But it also encourages students to get into especially that first period class on time. We don't typically see this as an issue once students are in school, but we think, in one sense, it's a little more flexible while we're not lowering the standard for our expectation for kids to be in class. Like, I don't see this as a significant impact on students. We don't deal with a lot of students around loss of credit, but it does come up at times. And that's going to be the next part of our conversation, where we actually have in place right now a loss of credit appeals process. So once a student hits the numbers of concern, after they get a few warning letters, like you're exceeded your absences, you're at the risk of losing credit, which is pretty significant, because if you end up passing a course, but you lose credit, you'd have to take that course over. That wouldn't count or be on your transcript. A student at this point could actually appeal the loss of credit. Parents and guardians are certainly involved. It's not the most thorough process, and we're looking to give students a little more of an opportunity. So this slide is not easy to look at, so I apologize for this one. But this is a transition to our appeal process, which we're giving more of an opportunity. So it would be the responsibility of the student and the parent to initiate the appeals process. Keeping in mind, we're going to mail all the information home, and we actually send an email as well to make sure there's one method of communication that this information is received. Within 7 school days, we're expecting parents and the students to fill out the loss of credit appeals form. And then we can actually review it as a small committee. And if you read this slide in advance, a committee will be made up of a school counselor, the actual student's counselor, one administrator, and a teacher. And they will have the opportunity to review the appeals form and make a decision. We're hoping that if you look at after the number 3, if requested, we're opening an opportunity for the parent, guardian, and student to actually meet with the appeals board to go over all the reasons why consideration for restoring the credit should be, a part of the decision-making process. That's something that has not happened too often. We think it will help. And the appeals committee will have the opportunity to make the final decisions. There will be no additional appeals. And in some cases, the appeal will be denied, but in a lot of cases, we put students on conditional contracts where if you do this, this, and this, we'll restore your credit. I have found in my 11 years at CAN that these contracts are highly successful. The only time it's most likely that a student will not restore their credit is if the actual course they're taking doesn't matter for their graduation. Like if they took an extra elective, for example, senior year, and they don't need that credit, we don't see them go through that process. But we have several kids every single year on particular contracts looking to restore their credit. And the contracts we put them on that require their signatures, parent and guardian signatures, have been quite successful, and our kids usually get their credit back. I see this as a lot more detailed of a process for our students who do lose credit. And keeping in mind, that those numbers of 6, 12, and 18, those are after again the 9. So it's a pretty significant amount of class time missing. So I don't see these changes impacting a very high number of students. I do think some students will definitely be impacted by this. And we're looking again to have them in class so they can earn credit and be prepared for the next step in either their high school or beyond careers. So those were the overview of what we're planning on doing with the attendance as we move forward starting next year. Any questions, happily try to answer them for you right now if you have them.
I have a question. So was this brought on by changes in state statute or based on what you were seeing in terms of increasing absenteeism? Like what?
So this aligns with the state Board of Ed and our Board of Ed policy around attendance. Like very clearly, we spent a lot of time with the attorney from Shipman and Goodwin going through this as well. We thought having an appeals process that's more defined would be better for kids, because there are some students where we send the communication to parents and to students, and we get nothing back. And then the end of the school year or the end of the trimester, and there's no way for them to have any opportunity to restore credit. So we see this as actually better for kids. It's a little more of a process, but it's laid out very clearly where it gives students a chance. And again, we rarely have said an absolute no to an opportunity to restore credit. We put kids on contracts, and the most common reason that students are not getting their credit is they're just not in class. So our contracts are based on being in class and having no unexcused absences, no tardies. And it's amazing, once they have that contract, how they're in class quite effectively. And, we spend a lot of time with the students who are impacted by this to help them get to that credit mark, because they have to get to that minimum of 25 in certain areas, obviously, before they can graduate. So I see this as actually helping. And that breakdown of the quarter, the half, or full is a little more flexible for students as well. it's a little harder for us to manage. I mean, I think that's going to be a little clunky at first.
Yeah.
But we'll be able to manage that, because again, this won't impact a significant number of students. But I do think it will help a lot of students. We're not looking to have students not earn their credit. I mean, you can see just by our graduation rate, that is not something that we focus on. We really work with kids, and this empowers the parents as well to have a little more say. And I do hope parents, and we'll encourage that meeting with the appeals board, because I think that could be really effective. And in that situation, the counselor may know something that some people in the meeting may not know. We're looking at the assistant principals who know the kids really well, also being, and then a particular teacher. It could be rotating. And we're looking, for an opportunity. We've discussed this in length, especially with coordinators, and we really think it's a good move for our students.
I would just add, there's no state law that requires these changes happen, but I think there's some linkage certainly to the mental health days and the college visits. I think that, when you add them together, and the college visits is something unique to Daniel Hand. Other districts do it, but I think the 3 was on the higher end, and our students know about the mental health days. I think that was something. I have colleagues that don't know about the mental health days, but I know we have freshman students that know about the mental health days, and so they are utilized here. And so I think that this is just another way to control, and I think that also as Mr. Solitary said, most college visits do occur in the junior and senior year. I think that's when most happen. Doesn't mean the family can't bring the freshman along with the junior. It just means it would be an excuse absence, something like that.
Can you speak for a minute, TJ, to what is being done and what you do when you begin to identify students that look like they're heading in this direction?
Great question. Absolutely. So we send out a lot of letters, when students start to get to a concerning number of even excused, like you're about to use all of your excused absences, and a lot of communication with parents. A lot of times I get an email, my child's going to be out for the next week. We're going on vacation. I'm like, that's either 5 of your 9, or if it's after the 9, it's unexcused. And that's a reality check for some. And we send a handbook page, pay attention. We even talk to the parents and the students about their schedule, because if they have a lot of 1 trimester courses, during that trip, all of a sudden that 6 becomes in play very quickly. We try not to, deter some vacationing plans, but we have defined school vacations that we would appreciate our parents taking kids up during those times. We also meet with students regularly. Mr. Binder, Mrs. Butcher have 2 grades each. They meet with students depending on the severity, almost on a weekly basis. When it gets past the point of excused absences, it moves over to my office, and we have, supportive conversations. And that usually works. That's usually weekly. We, make the students, it seems like it's kind of random, but it's very planned. And we also follow policy on, chronic absenteeism and tardy, where we, require the parent come in, have the discussion. We send the letters home. I inform Dr. Cook as well. There's not too many teeth in what we can do, but it's never a surprise, and we're usually very successful. And the reactive meetings turn into some proactive positives. Like even the following school year, when we watched the students who were on our list last year of concerns, we call them in and congratulate them, for being in school. So, I don't love the fact that we're a lot smaller than we used to be enrollment wise, but you can see so many more students now and a bigger percentage. We actually have a pretty high success rate with most of our students, and there's a lot of things that come in play. There's never a surprise. Like there's no way a parent is like, I didn't know this was coming. Sometimes we have to ask the parent what they need us to do, in certain circumstances, Mrs. Witcher or Mr. Binder are on the phone in the morning, but can you put your son on the phone, get out of bed, you got to get here. And that's been really effective as well. So we spend a lot of time on this. It's important. We want the students there, and there's so many checks and balances in place. And even when they get to what seems like the point of no return, there's another option where they can actually appeal and be placed on a contract, which again, we've had a lot of success for. The only ones that Mr. Bodner and I, over our 11 years together, and have been unsuccessful were kids who just, I don't need the art credit, I'm good. I don't have to appeal, I have my art credits and I'm already passed. For the students who needed the credit, it's been really helpful. And we carry contracts into the next school year as well. It's not a short-term plan. We're trying to change behavior. And sometimes when they know, in June 13th, when all of your friends are walking across the stage, you're not going to be. That's quite a motivator for a lot of students.
I know that a lot of districts around the state are having, and around the country, are having a terrible time with attendance post-COVID. I don't think we count among the districts that have had difficulty bouncing back attendance wise, but just where do we stand is your understanding?
I'm depends on the day, like junior prom day, we'll probably have a lot of mental health days. And the students all who take those days know they can go to junior prom. We have the 4-hour minimum limit where a student has to be in school for 4 hours to engage in anything after school. I don't see our overall attendance as concerned. I do, every year it seems like there's a few more senior skip days that a lot of people think we approve. That doesn't exist. But overall, our attendance is really good. Certain days, like the post Super Bowl days, those type, I see concerns. This attendance issue is very specific to students who our SST identifies through a lot of the visits. I'm not sure if you know exactly what those are. Gail's probably talked to them. Like Gail's office created a really good report, easy to run through Infinite Campus, where it flags kids, where our school counselors get involved. I will say that school counselors do a good job. It's definitely a different impact if an assistant principal has you in their office or if you're in my office. It's certainly more real in that case, and we spend a lot of time, in those situations. And it's nice to connect with kids. I do think that relationship building sometimes could, get that student over the hump in coming into school. And some have to check in the morning, and we spend a lot of time on that. So I wouldn't say we've seen the completely negative impact on attendance that COVID caused in a lot of other places, but we definitely want to pay a lot of attention to it. There's some misuse, like the mental health days, for example, in my opinion, as well as college visits, that are lined up, and there's students missing a lot of school. So we're trying to just rein that in a bit.
Thank you.
So is this something that's going to be like published in a student handbook and like on the website?
It's going to be communicated nearing the end of this year. We thought it'd be a good idea to get it out there. It will be a separate communication preschool, before the beginning of the school year. And then it will be within all of our handbooks. Our website will be updated, and it will be a focus of our beginning of the year small meetings with our students to go over anything that's changed. So they'll be fully aware. And I don't see this impacting a lot of our kids. As you heard, a couple of our kids, a lot of our kids really like coming to school. They appreciate that piece, and I love hearing that from them. This will help a few of our students who really struggle getting into the building, and we're trying to put supports in place to get them there. Again, we don't want them to have to stay, an extra year. In some extremely rare cases, it's really beneficial for a student to be there an extra year, but that's a conversation that happens well before June of the graduating year. But I see this being clearly communicated, and we'll talk often about it. And we have a good plan for how we're going to roll out that communication. And for incoming freshman parents, it's pretty easy. It's just, the way it is. I think the current juniors this will be the most surprising, because they have their college visits all planned, for next year, and their mental health days, a lot of them planned, and that's an interesting
And they're called
approach.
senior skip days.
Yeah.
But, especially the juniors, because I think, if currently it's the 9, excused absences, no matter what, plus the mental health days, these students, they
Yeah.
are planning them. So if the change is now, if you take the mental health day during that first 9, it's not in addition to 2. That is a big change for these high school students, and they definitely are gonna have to pay attention to that.
Right, and if they use their 9, just they get 2 more. So like Dr. Cook said, our students know the mental health rules. I do I do think the students would be like seriously at first, but our students listen, and follow the rules, and I think this is better for kids, and it will help some parents as well, you know, when they're trying in the morning. I think everyone in here has had a teenager. You know, I always appreciated the fact that I would be out of the house before anyone was up. That was always a plus, because those are tough times. I don't see this as being really earth shattering to the majority of the school. And again, we're trying to rein in those students who are really at risk of loss of credit and then ultimately not graduating. That's pretty significant, because we expect them to come back. They don't have to come back if they don't graduate. And that's something we try to avoid at all costs.
So, you know, it's an important issue, obviously. Being in school, and what was offered in school, but beyond that, you know, learning those habits, this is the number one issue that employers complain about. And it is the number one issue on why people are fired.
We have that conversation with students and say, if this was your job, you would have been fired. You know, we have those conversations. We do think it is habitual, and, you know, breaking that habit, especially over many years, is really difficult to do. And I'm proud of the work of the high school. There's really a lot of focus on this. Again, I don't see this as bad for kids whatsoever. I think it's actually better for kids. Any questions? All right, Dr. Cook volunteered to send out the first communication about this. It's awesome.
Yes.
I didn't forget that. That'll be perfect. All right, so next, again, looking.
On behalf of.
You can put my name on it. So we've been looking at the academic integrity piece around cheating, around plagiarism, and obviously the impact of things like AI, pretty significant. And just technology in itself, how easy it is for students to be able to share things. And we looked at making some changes that, again, we actually think are good for kids, give some teachers some flexibilities that they've been asking for about a year and a half. We've looked at this for what we can do that would be really good for students, but by no means would send any message that things like cheating or plagiarizing would be acceptable. That's a really important piece. So what we stated as we transition, this is current, this is what's in our code of conduct, literally a copy and paste. If a student is caught cheating or plagiarizing, first offense, they get a 0. They're not permitted to make up the assignment. They might get a 2-hour Saturday detention. We usually don't go disciplinary because of the academic consequence, but there could be a scenario where disciplinary consequence would be warranted. We always inform parent or guardian and the counselor and the administration, because we keep track of this over the years. And students currently, if they have 2 or more offenses over their 4 years in high school, lose any opportunities for leadership, or if they're in a leadership opportunity that's stripped from their actual position, because part of that leadership is character, and that expectation is pretty significant. The second and subsequent offense includes all the first offenses and possibly up to 3 days. We've never done that. Again, something really egregious, if we needed to, maybe. This approach seems pretty antiquated, so we worked with our teachers, talked with our senior class advisors or officers, great group of students, to come up with a better approach. And before we get into that approach, it is worth noting, Gail and I had this conversation, that our expectation is that all of our teachers at the start of next school year in their syllabus or their course intro talk about AI, cheating, plagiarism, and the approach. Because ideally students are aware in advance, as opposed to getting themselves in a situation that could have pretty major academic consequences and other consequences, with either being out of the running for consideration for leadership opportunities or having a leadership title stripped from them. So we're looking at what we think would be a lot better. So this is what we're looking at as an approach. First and foremost, we want the teacher who's involved with the student to actually have a discussion with the program coordinator or department lead, just to ensure we're being consistent. That's a really important piece. We thought, as fair as possible, a 0 will be assessed for any part of the assignment involving the academic dishonesty, but could result in a 0 for the entire assignment. We've had situations where a teacher has found a small piece, for example, and they said, this kid cannot pass my course. If they get a 0 in here, So penalizing them for the area where they actually, it's confirmed dishonesty, but still giving them a chance was something our teachers have been asking for years. We did not disregard the importance of the communication with parents, guardians, counselors, and administration. And we also said that the assignments that we're giving our students are important. So we want them to be able to demonstrate their understanding. So at the discretion of the teacher, and obviously they're collaborating with the coordinator, we wanted to give the opportunity for a makeup assignment. Now, with that being said, that wouldn't awash the initial grade, because if it did, that this would be meaningless. And both grades would be entered into Infinite Campus and count towards the student's final grade. But it gives the teacher, the coordinator, an opportunity to have the student demonstrate their understanding. Now, obviously, there could be flexibility in the discretion, and we thought that was important. We also left the 2-hour Saturday detention highly unlikely. Again, the academic consequences in itself is pretty significant. So second and subsequent, so we're looking at these are all of the same things from the first offense. And again, we think they're really fair in the approach. The next part that we were going to add to the code of conduct, again, we left up to 3 days of suspension. You know, if a student, like, for example, stole an exam and posted it online, they might get, more than a 2-hour Saturday detention. But we are adding the loss of leadership opportunities to the actual code of conduct. That's in our handbook already. That's not a new practice. But when it happens, that hits hard to a student or to families. And the first thing we hear is, where is it in the handbook? Where is it in the code of conduct? And I will say, when we have any student who is caught with an issue of dishonesty, cheating, or plagiarism, the administrator calls home every time after they have a discussion with the student involved and explains, if you get another offense similar to this over your years in high school, these are the opportunities that you're going to lose. And we have the same conversation with parents. And that's proven to be very helpful over time. We just looked at, with the learning curve for students. For example, if a teacher in an English class has a rubric, and part of the rubric is about proper citation, and a student doesn't properly cite something in their actual paper, we're not even hearing about it. They're going to get, a drop in their grade based on the rubric. Teachable moment, move forward. That's just good teaching. It shouldn't be under the academic dishonesty piece. We see this as being much better for students, and it gives some flexibility for our teachers. And I like when students have to actually demonstrate their understanding on what we think is important, and it gives us that flexibility. The seniors, I brought them in the main office conference room and put this up and showed them, and they're like, that's actually really good. I'm like, poke holes in it. And Eli was actually going to stay for a little while because he was part of that. I said, you don't have to stay. I know you want to go. And it's not as hot in here as everyone says it is. And I'm usually a tough critic on the heat. But we see this as actually being really good for kids. This will, again, Diane, to answer probably a similar question, this will be heavily communicated at the beginning of the school year as well with our students. And even learning how to use AI as a tool is really important. We don't want that to be banned. That would be just going in the completely opposite direction of where we're trying to move as a school system. So that's teaching students the responsibility piece, and we do have students who share, assignments or, do things that they shouldn't be doing. And we've had students lose their captainship on an athletics team, not be able to be considered for National Honor Society. Those are all, the privileges of good character and good decisions. Those aren't always open to every single student. The communication in advance really helps. Even when our students apply to be a captain, there's a form they have to fill out, and they get signatures from teachers. And then the assistant principal they work with literally checks their disciplinary record to make sure their character aligns with our expectations, because those leadership positions are really important. We don't see too many of these situations, but we see the student who makes a bad decision, they have a chance to recover, and it could be a teachable moment, but it still holds them accountable. By no means are we saying that this is something that we accept and it's not a big deal, because it is a big deal. I do know colleges and universities don't take these types of behaviors lightly. So we want to help students certainly get ready for that transition, but we also don't want one decision to automatically result in the inability, like that mathematical impact of a zero is really significant. So we see this as, again, really positive, and I don't think we'll hear too much negative, if anything negative on this particular piece, because overall, we think it's good for students, and that piece right in the beginning of the new language where the coordinator and the teacher will talk will really focus on that equal opportunity piece. So two teachers in a civics class, two different classes have a similar situation with two different students, that coordinator can ensure the consistency piece, because that's really important. And again, I think helping students understand, what we expect is really important, but also they're navigating some tools and technology that are just evolving every day. It's amazing.
So there's one, I think, kind of gray area when it comes to whether or not a student has like dishonest or like plagiarism. So, and I know this just because it actually happened. So I know frequently teachers will ask students to like help edit other students' work, like they're allowed to go into the document and you can see the changes that they made or suggestions that they make. And some students have actually taken another student's suggestion verbatim and put it in and not understood that that is plagiarism. And so then both students were called out on it, even though one was just sort of suggesting something, but because the other person used it. So I think like it was certainly unintentional. And it was a teaching moment, right, for the teacher and the students. But it is something I think that could be highlighted better by the teachers to the students to say, although we want you to help each other and collaborate and provide suggestions, you cannot actually use exactly what they said.
That's good input. And the big learning curve for teachers too, that collaborative piece, the use of technology. We're trying to front load those conversations in all courses so students are aware. We're also looking at a lot of teachable moments, not, automatically going discipline and code of conduct. And we're helping even art. I mean, students can have AI draw, something they need for an art class, and we don't want to get to that point. Could it be a great tool? Absolutely. But we're thinking more front end conversations. I will say the teachers with our current practice sometimes really struggle. Like, I got to follow the code of conduct. This is a 0. Like they would have to get a 100 on every single assignment the rest of the way to get a D. And that's not easy to do. So this does help. And again, if a teacher puts a paper in one of the AI checkers, there's all different ones now, and it comes 100% AI, we may not be that flexible. If there's a few sentences, that's teachable moments, that probably doesn't even come down to us.
And do the teachers actually do that? They put everything
Oh, yeah.
check? Oh, wow.
It's interesting when we get the 100% AI and the student, I swear I did it all. It was all my work. I'm not really buying that, but the AI checker is really effective, and the teachers tell the students like this, we do this. But again, we don't want them to avoid using those tools, but we want them to use them appropriately and not lose all the skills that they're typically developing before this stuff has come into play. I do think what Gail has mentioned, the evolution of this technology is just what your cell phone can do now, what it couldn't do 6 months ago is unreal. And I will revisit this often because the technology side gets ahead of us really quickly. It's nice working with teenagers because they keep us up to date. But we think these are really good changes, and we're ready to move forward with it. And again, that communication will be key at the start of the school year. I don't see this pushing any students like, oh my goodness, what happened? I think the attendance, a few of the changes will certainly, but they'll be okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate all your work around this.
Thank you very much for your time, everyone. Have a great rest of your evening.
Yes. Good job. And then the last piece I have for my report, I won't go in depth on this. I know Mr. Pinn's going to cover this in his committee report, but I just wanted to thank Gail for leading the work on the teacher eval plan. I shared some information with the board in terms of the timeframes. The timelines have been incredibly tight and to bring a group to consensus. I think one of the big things that we had in our favor was this is very similar to our current plan. And so Gail and I both fully expect, and I know I've said something similar to this, but Gail and I both fully expect that we will be in compliance with the state on teacher eval to start off next school year. And so, you know, we have done a lot of work in that area, and I just, like I said, I want to thank Gail for working with the group. She met several times over the last 2 weeks just to get this to the finish line and be able to present it to you today. So, like I said, I know Stephen will cover that in his update. And then just the last note, you know, as we talked about the HVAC being down in this building, just watch your invites from Zoe. We got some dates change, our locations changing, not dates. In terms of some, you know, upcoming events, we don't want anyone to miss it because they went to the wrong spot. So just make sure you're watching the latest invite. And that's it. That's it.
Thank you. Board member comments, any comments? Yes, Diane.
So I just wanted to make a couple of comments, regarding, the AP review sessions. And so the first comment is, I think that we should develop some guidelines for the AP review sessions so that, the students have adequate time to, schedule them in with their own schedules. And so maybe if we had some sort of guidelines for teachers to say, you know, your AP test is on this day, this many weeks before the AP test. If you're planning to do review sessions, give notice, you know, this many weeks before, schedule them, you know, this many days before, et cetera. And that way, there's equal opportunity for all students in all of the AP courses that are being offered review sessions to adequately plan and then therefore adequately utilize the AP review sessions. And then the second thing about AP is because our referendum is a week from today for the budgets. By that time, our current AP review sessions should be over with, because I believe AP testing will be done. So prior to after the budget vote, but before budget cuts are made, we should be able to have access to the statistics from this year as to how much the AP review sessions were utilized and use that information going forward to help us make decisions about future AP review funding, but also take into consideration utilization based on what factors, you know, was there adequate, yeah. So that's my two comments. And it's really hot. So third comment, really hot, really.
Yeah, and I'll just take a very brief moment to echo what Craig said about our appreciation for the teachers and the nurses. We're truly gifted to have some dedicated, really dedicated and excellent faculty here in our district to clearly the effort that they make and the pride they take in their work is amazing. We have some excellent nurses as well. Madison Public Schools is a special district, and credit a lot of that to what our teachers do and to how our staff look after our students. So thank you, truly appreciate it.
I will work on it.
Yes.
Just a shout out to all the PTOs and also for really showing appreciation to our teachers and nurses. They go above and beyond and they really do a lot of work. It's a few people always at all the schools on PTOs doing the bulk of the work. And a thank you to the parents who contributed, because without all that, it's, the appreciation I think is really felt by the teachers when the PTO does their work. So thank you. And also night hand auction is on Friday.
So that ends board member comments. Is there any audience response to the information presented? Seeing there's no audience here and we have none raising their hand in the TV audience, so we'll move on. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
To approve that, that was Emily,
Second.
seconded by Diane, thank you. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions, passes nothing. Oh, actually, it passes 7-0, we have 7 here tonight. Board committees and liaison updates, curriculum and student development, I know they had a good meeting this evening, Stephen.
Yes, we met this evening, it was Kathy, myself. And Gail and Seth. We had 2 items on the agenda, wellness unit adoptions. And the second item was the Madison Educator Leadership Evaluation Plan. In terms of the wellness unit, this is the last of over 900 units that have been developed by teachers. And the wellness curriculum, as Seth said in the meeting, it feels like it was a complete rewrite from the youngest right up to the high school. And I think, I think that's true in many ways. I mean, what it incorporated, where it used to be basically PE health, was incorporating school counselor and social work standards, health and PE standards, bringing all of those together. When you look at the essential element of what was driving the work of a great number of teachers in this, is, and Kathy spoke to it, it was so clearly student-centered and lifetime outcome focused. So that rather than, what many of us may have experienced in school of advancing the PE and health curriculum and going through the different sports, right from the get-go, it started looking at how do we develop these behaviors and attitudes in young people and have them understand why we do the things that we do. And that was happening right from the K through 5, where it used to be one dedicated health unit. They added additional units. Part of the goal, and there were a number of goals and standards they worked from, was, not for it to be just informational, but to have the students be active in their learning. And as I said, addressing the why of being being active and the health standards. There also are state requirements that come into the development of the curriculum: sexual assault and abuse training, alcohol, nicotine prevention, drug prevention, and the school social workers, counselors were utilized in doing presentations of these areas. Again, the curriculum shifted away from being sport-based, which is not to say they're not learning the skills of the sports, but much more a focus on physical skills. Wholesome, again, away from the sports, more for the skills, social behaviors, teamwork, and then an expansion of the curriculum to involve personal fitness and outdoor adventure. So this orientation that not every student is particularly sports oriented or enjoys that kind of competition, that there is a menu of choices that allow them to be active and develop skills they can take through the rest of their life. And in hand, tremendous shift to offerings in the curriculum: outdoor adventure, leisure PE, lifetime pursuits, net games. All of this developed after, which we all love, really sampling the students and going, how could we design this better? How could we create something that is different than the standard PE sports focus? Profiles of the graduate are incorporated into the curriculum with a very heavy focus on self-reflection and really students beginning to think about how they can continue activities and behaviors throughout their lives. This is about half of the curriculum. The other half is going to come up in one of the next successive meetings because the review process that we do in Madison of reviewing the units is being done in the second half of those. You know, it's a very enjoyable presentation. I encourage you to look at the materials that are part of your packet. Second presentation was on the evaluation plan, and to truly appreciate that, you have to have a sense of the history of what the state proposed some years ago that Madison chose, some 10, 11 years ago, to not participate in, because they felt that the pillars of that plan didn't correspond with the goals and what we wanted to do, cultivate and nurture with our teachers. And the focus of the current plan and the concern with the previous plan was that the group that worked on the curriculum and looked at the evaluation plan wanted it to be very heavily focused on professional growth and development. Which is not to say there isn't an accountability aspect to it, but that the leading principle would be nurturing through high standards professionals that continue to grow and learn. What the State Department of Ed offered was a plan with much greater flexibility than it has existed in the past. Which really left an opportunity for Madison to shape it closely to what we value and what Madison has currently been doing. There were basically three options. They put out a model plan and they go, if you're not happy with what you have and you just want to adopt a state plan, you certainly can do that. And here's all the materials and the forms and you can step into that. The other option was you can adopt some of the standards of the state plan and bring in some of your own, as long as the required provisions of the plan are in your plan. And the third choice was you not take any of this and develop, from the ground up your plan, as long as you comply with what the state requires. Madison chose to take the middle, which was because the current plan wasn't that far off from some of what the state offered. So, it is plan that is being put forth is an adaptation of their model, but with our choices and the things that are important to Madison. Without going into, in the interest of time, a lot of the details, there are tiered levels in the plan. There are face-to-face meetings 3 times a year. There's a focus on climate, academic talent and systems, and the Danielson rubric that the faculty and the leaders in our schools were enthusiastic about. As superintendent spoke to, the timeline on developing, implementing, training, and putting into place is challenging at best. So, the fact that the team of people that worked on this under Gail's leadership, prioritized this, pushed it, didn't cut corners, and came forth with the plan is, I think, really involved. They are seeking adoption and will seek adoption in the May 21st meeting. There was no public comment and we adjourned at 6:35. Any questions?
So I know that the teachers, were involved in this and you're seeking adoption, but does this have any impact on the union agreement with them? Like, does anything need to be modified or?
No, the regulation requires that the recommendation come out of the PDAC and actions taken by the board. There's union representation on the PDAC. So we have presidents from both unions on that PDAC as well as different levels of the organization, so.
So they're representative of it, so no changes have to be, no addendums or anything like that. Thank you.
Yeah. And I have to say, just to add into that, we have a highly functional collaborative PDAC. Where for some districts, this change was unsurmountable and really difficult. We've had nothing but total agreement every step of the way. Nothing at all to cite in terms of this thing.
And Mike Ginsburg was part of the presentation. He was at the table with
Martha.
Thank you. Yeah. So
I just didn't know if, even if they're involved in it, but, you know, it would require legal changes or.
Well, we're going into a teacher's negotiation anyway, so if it did, we'd be able to handle that. But I made a point of asking Michael, you know, as the union.
Because that's not happening until fall, right? And if we adopt this, it would be at May 21st, so there's.
Yeah.
Yeah, the difference between our current practice and the future practice is.
Very minimal. Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
Thank you.
And fully supported, 100%.
Right, and just so people know, PDAC is an acronym for Professional Development Educator Committee, which was the committee that worked together to put together the proposal for our educator and leadership evaluation plan.
See,
Thank you, Steve. What?
that's a state mandated acronym.
State. Yeah.
I have a question that's a little off topic, but it's still for this area. So in the past, I know that Gail, you presented to the curriculum committee about like how much professional development our teachers are getting, like you did a whole review of the year. And I was just wondering if we're gonna get that annually, like, because then it was presented to the board afterwards, and I just thought it was a really great informative piece to have the whole board know like what professional development our staff is getting annually.
We certainly can provide professional development. We have, so yesterday, was it today? Today was a
Very long
PD
day.
I'm like, how long is this week? And we have all of the activities and a grid for each school. But also another important piece that we just shared with John Michael, I think asked for it, was the state mandated trainings that are also part of that schedule. And very. So.
But I mean, personally, I would like to see it like annually, just like this is all the PD that we did this year for our teachers, for our paras, et cetera. Because I know like, you know, some of it is state mandated and some of it we're doing as PD. And I think it would just be a very informative piece for the board so that going forward, when we're doing our budgeting, we can see like, well, maybe we need a little more, or maybe we were right on target, like whatever, however it would be, you know, impactful on the budget.
I would agree with you. I think that's a really important point. And it was something that was really featured in the evaluation plan with the professional development schedule and opportunities are a huge part of developing. Developing effectively. I also think it's, it's a benefit to the general public to understand when we start talking about investing in teachers, what that means.
Right. Thank you.
Any other questions for Steve? Great report, Steve. Thank you. Facilities committee also met tonight, Emily.
Yep, we met tonight. We talked about work going to be done over the summer and then looking ahead to plan cycle maintenance. Quick overview for summer, upcoming summer 2024 work. Overall, all the projects are on time. Neck River Elementary School is in full swing, on schedule and on budget. Brown School is plugging along. The windows are on hold due to a funding issue, but we hope to have it funded a year from now. Polson bathrooms, bids are due next week. Hope to get that under construction this summer too. They said it's a little tight, that project, but that's the goal. We did spend some time talking about the complexities of the Polson HVAC work along with the auditorium. As you can imagine, the HVAC will be potentially extremely disruptive, so they're sort of spending some good time thinking about the impact on students, how to phase that project in over the time frame. Gilbane is working with Bill and Peter to help think about planning and phasing and considering different options for that. Dr. Cook also asked Mrs. Hart to look sort of at the building and consider how they could use different spaces in the building to maximize work, do the work in a way that makes sense, both time-wise and education-wise. So to be continued, but they do look to have a schedule for work in place this fall that we can see, so. And then also part of that, the auditorium work, that's the lighting, the sound system and the chairs. Gilbane's also working with them on that. The work will be done next summer. They're sort of trying to figure out, they do the HVAC first, do they do the auditorium first, how that timing and phasing. So lots to consider, but everything is moving along otherwise. And then you may have seen the emergency storage construction underway by the facilities area. Bill also talked briefly about planned and cycle maintenance. As you may know, the planned and cycle maintenance is sort of the planned work, carpeting, flooring, painting, lighting, minor renovations. He said they spent a lot more this year than in years past up front, with Brownsville being a priority area. Plus, as we all know, the rooftop units at the high school. So just something to consider as we look ahead, as he said, you can never have enough, as you can imagine, for sort of ongoing maintenance, keeping the buildings functioning and in good condition. Looking ahead to plan and cycle maintenance 2025, some highlights: Brown signage and wayfaring for the pre-K and kindergarten areas, parking areas, moving expenses, millwork, the kindergarten play area, those are all on the horizon. And then we talked a little bit, a good question was raised about a lot of this work, as Bill said, next summer is going to be the busiest summer in terms of the work that anyone can recall, with all these constructions. So Diane had asked, with that in mind, where is the extended school year going to happen with Polson under construction, Brown, the new school? So we did talk about options. Jeffrey will still be here on campus, and Ryerson. So there are spaces that just will be missing. There's no public comment, and we adjourned at 7:16. I don't know if anyone from the committee wants to add anything. Who was there?
Just that, the schedules have not yet been determined. They're still working on it for, the Polson projects, the HVAC, and the auditorium. So it's not that there's any project on hold. It's that they still haven't yet determined the best schedule of which to start first and how to proceed. And they're working on that this summer, so that the decision will be hopefully done by fall, and then everyone will know, the community will know what this likely schedule will be. But the work was determined it was not going to start yet. It's not scheduled to start until the summer of 2025, but that they're working on the schedule. And when they know the schedule, we will know the schedule, and then everyone else will know the schedule.
Bill did speak to the concept that going from 7 schools to 4 schools won't necessarily result in savings as it relates to maintenance, because the new standards that the new buildings and the new work requires, is more technical, is more advanced. Things like filters and so forth are gonna have to be changed, and they're more costly to meet COVID standards and so forth. So it was a heads up that it isn't just a 1-to-1 ratio, that there are challenges with some of the new technology. And then the sidebar, they spoke briefly to the process of monitoring all of the maintenance and the software that's used and the complexity of, you know, some of this software and learning when the filters maybe, you know, need changing and a variety of other things. It just, you know, it's interesting.
Thank you.
Anything else? No further questions? Thank you very much. Good report. Finance Committee, Galen. We did not meet, and our next meeting is 21st. Thank you. Personnel Committee, Maureen.
Yes, the Personnel Committee did meet to start our discussions with the Teamsters Union. And we have our second meeting scheduled for the 27th.
Policy Committee, Diane.
We have not met since the last meeting. Our next meeting is May 21st at 6:30, which unfortunately also coincides with the induction of National Honor Society, so some of us will not be there. With regards to this evening's meeting, we have 4 policies as action items. There are policies that are up for rescission. They are our first read tonight, but we're asking to waive the second read and rescind these policies tonight. You have in your packet policy summary with notes from Shipman and Goodwin explaining the reasons for these rescissions. And also we have 6 policies up for first read, 3 of which are the 9000 series, which again will require a 2/3 vote from the board. And if you have any questions on anything, feel free to ask me. There's also a regulation in your packet this evening, which does not require any action by the board, but is certainly great reading. But it's just a sort of an FYI regarding the regulation regarding immunizations. And if anyone has any questions, I will try to answer.
Seeing none, thank you very much. And then the Learn Liaison report, Mary Ann was unable to be here this evening. She's traveling, but she did ask me to disseminate a flyer that she received when she went to the last Learn meeting. She reported about it last meeting and she was able to get her hands on the flyer. I apologize that the writing is kind of small, but I will hand these out. And this is for the I Choose Success ICS program that is put on by Learn and is sponsored by General Dynamics. It's an opportunity as a program. This program will ideally consist of a series of 12 regularly scheduled 90-minute sessions with cohorts of up to 12 students. Participants will be led through self-exploration activities in small groups on topics such as identifying and building personal strengths, leadership of self and others, virtual hands-on career exploration, building positive, authentic relationships, sphere of control, influence, and impact, getting the job and keeping the job, being a part of a dynamic team. So I think the concept is this is very similar to the type of work we are teaching our students in our calling it in our proposal graduates. Well, no, I mean, yes, no, sorry. In our CTE, gosh, I'm sorry. I think I have CTE, that's why I can't think. In our CTE class, career tech ed program, but it also adds a little bit of like career readiness and advisory for students who may be interested in career paths other than college. So, yeah, might be complimentary for us to consider along with our award-winning awesome CTE. And that's it for committee and liaison reports. So now we move on with some action items. Action item 10. I need a motion to waive the second reading and rescind the following policies. 5170 activities, fees, charges, 5100.9.4 physicals for school athletics, 5130 awards, honors, and scholarships, 5180.4 using schools or students for publicity purposes.
So
By Diane, seconded by Maureen. Any discussion on those? We can rescind. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? It is unanimous, 7-0. Thank you. Action item 11. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the April 23rd, 2024 Board of Education meeting.
So.
Diane, do I have a second?
Second.
Well, okay, Kathy's got it. Kathy, so good. So this side. Any discussion or recommended edits or anything? No, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Then I have future. So, okay. 12, any future agenda items? The requested agenda items. 13, adjournment. I need a motion.
So moved.
Diane, seconded by.
That's fine.
Okay, I'll just carry them with. David, you've been trying all guys.
You and I are like-
Got it by now. 9, 12, yeah. All in favor, aye, opposed, nay, why is it German?
With no discussion.
No discussion.